Halloween was not introduced until the 2000s in Belgium. But once I was introduced to it, I loved it. I loved all of it. In 2001, I entered a theme park and it was all decorated with pumpkins, graveyards, the atmosphere, the music. I loved it. I was immediately in love with Halloween. I wanted to know the origins of it. I wanted to know everything about this. Because, yeah, of course, that was not the time that I was awakened. I was 12 years old, I think, and I loved it to bits. Later on, that is, I try to celebrate Halloween every single year. And every single time that I also try to be dressed, and I came to find out that, my grandpa, for example, he didn't use a pumpkin. We didn't use actually pumpkins back in the day to carve out and make a face in it. Here, in the origins of it, in ancient Europe, people used a sugar bit and then scooped it, and then, much more scarier. Oh, than a pumpkin, much more, but yeah, commercialized as pumpkins now. With that beside, I want to say to you, the first Halloween that I ever had, in 2006, once after my awakening. It was something that stands in my book of Dragon Shadows because it was strange, very much. And what actually happened in 2006, Halloween, I actually don't really remember it, but my dad remembers it because he explained whatever happened that night. He explained that he found me outside, naked, and I had just Halloween decorations over me to cover myself. And I was like dancing outside of my garden. And for everyone to see, but it wasn't at night. It was, I don't know what time it was. I think he said it was around 2 or 3 a.m., somewhere over there. And I was dancing outside with I don't know, a cloak, I think, some kind of a table robe, there's something like this, a black one. I remember what it was. Um, and I was putting this over me, and I was dancing always like I was interacting with something outside while I was naked. My dad said to come inside, but it was not easy because I didn't want to go inside. And then he told me everything about this. And I was actually in shock because then I could remember what I saw that night inside of a dream. Inside of a dream, I was dreaming of my dragon. I could see the dragon, and the more that I was dancing and moving like the dragon, the more that I could also feel the dragon. This cloak, this table robe of whatever it was, I thought that these were wings. These were, I mean, I was actually so happy, and every single detail came back. But I didn't remember my dad. I didn't remember that I was naked. I didn't remember that I was outside. I just remember my dream, and my dream was that I had interaction with the dragon. Because what is actually Halloween, or Samhain? It's the day whenever the wall becomes closer with our side and the other side, so that we get more interaction with the other sides. It can be scary. That is the reason why Halloween seems like scary with all the decorations, but in fact it is not. It is much more of events that can happen, that is that spirits or other beings trying to reach you for one reason or another. And that is also what the dragons do. Dragons come from another side. So dragons are one of these beings, these spirits that humans could see on Halloween or surrounding by Halloween, because it actually begins from Mabon until after New Year. That is the time period, but Halloween is the center of it. And that is exactly, I was actually in shock whenever my dad said whatever happened that night. It was at 3 a.m., that is typically 3 a.m., somewhere around in the middle of the night, that I was just gone. I was dancing naked, just gone. But I had an interaction with the dragon. I wanted to reach this out. That is hence, I call the interaction with the dragon a dragon dance, because my dad described it that I was dancing outside, and I had to go outside, and I was talking to the dragon. That is the reason why he woke up. He heard me talking outside, but it was against no one, against air that I was doing while I was naked, while I was having this black. I thought these were wings. It came back, and I was actually very happy inside of that dream because I didn't feel it. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt so real. It felt so. I was so happy actually that Halloween was not something to be afraid of. Halloween was that you can have connection with your dragon and can be very beautiful. So Halloween, or surrounding by Halloween, is actually the moment that you can have your dragon the closest, because the dragon gate is open. The dragon gate stands open. The dragon can come for everyone. That is why it is also a very good idea to dress yourself as a dragon and to act like the dragon on Halloween. That is the moment that you can finally be your true self. The moment that you can just connect and dance with your dragon, just as I did, because this dream came back. But I had this problem of sleepwalking. I do it so many times, sleepwalking, sometimes dangerously. But yes, I don't think that was just sleepwalking. That was too real. That was too vivid. That was, yeah, my first Halloween after I was awakened. And my dragon, I could see him. I could see all the details on his body. He was like in the air. I was standing on the ground and I was trying to touch him, and every time, it was an interaction. That is why, hence the name, the dragon's dance, the dragon dance. But in fact, it's an interaction. He touched me every single time, and I could feel that. I could feel it. I could even describe how it felt. That is, the time of the Lord of the Dead. They call it the Lord of the Dead, but it's in fact the Lord of every being that is outside. I can describe Samhain much more with Leviathan, that he also opens up the gates. He is the opener of the gates and the closer of it, and he actually has authority over the dead. But not only the dead, everyone speaks of the dead, but also beings from other sides, like the dragon. They have much more access at this time of year, because actually Halloween exists because of that nature is going to sleep, and nature is losing its grip on all of these gates. And that is something that comes back every single time, every single Halloween. Now I feel so well connected. But I also did, if all of this can happen on Halloween, then other things can also happen. So I used the Ouija board on Halloween. Shouldn't have done that, because my mom was always with a bloody nose every single time until the day of Halloween. That was bizarre, to say at least. But she was actually insulting the spirits. And I said, because she was drunk, but she was insulting the spirits. And I said, that is not a good idea. Nothing is moving, those idiots. Just immediately had this, like someone punched him in the face, and like, oh, you dare to say that about me, like poof. And it didn't stop. It didn't stop. Every single time it repeated. She never had a bloody nose entire life. On Halloween she had that, and it didn't stop. So what Halloween actually is, when Christians or other religious people, whenever they, for example, yesterday at work, I say, Happy Halloween, Halloween, it's bad, it's the devil, and while they know nothing of it. In fact, it's something that we as dragon witches heavily should celebrate. This is a holiday for us, a great day for a holiday to just celebrate the open gates, and that you can finally dance with your dragon. It just lose all of the doubt and lose all of the shame. Just, I didn't had shame that night at all, but I didn't remember. Why naked? Because that is when the idea comes that I should also do skyclad, because dragons themselves, I never see them wearing clothes. And that is exactly how you should come in front of the dragon, how you are born, 100% natural, as a natural way to come before the dragon. And that is how I do my ritual. The most of the rituals, and especially the ritual that I gave myself to the dragon, that comes from that idea that I have to do it skyclad, so that the dragon is seeing me how I am, not covered, not anything, and that he can see your dragon soul in it. He can connect with it, and he can touch it without anything that covers it. So, just to say it, in a more natural way. I gave myself to the dragon without fear, without hope, but with pride and with love for the dragon. And Halloween later on, I came to understand much more of how the dragons do this, how the dragons come to us, and that is why on Halloween so many people see spirits, paranormal activity, and that is why Halloween is actually not horror. It is actually not killing people and whatever. No, it's a discovery. It's a holiday of discovery of what is life after death. What is the other side? What is the book telling in the universe about other spirits, other so-called demons or whatever, or maybe gods? And that is it. Actually, Halloween is explaining to us who we really are. Samhain is actually explaining this to us, and I'm so grateful that I have that before the 2000s there was no Halloween in Belgium, there was no Halloween in Europe, basically, and I'm so grateful that because the south of Belgium has actually Celtic roots. That is why it came back to this place. People say it's more like a commercial thing. Well, actually, it was meant to be. I much more understand Halloween than I ever had. That I had to be raised without Halloween. It was, oh my. But once I was introduced to it and saw this theme park with all of this cemetery and yeah, everything that it was immediately my heart. I was loving it, loving the pumpkins, loving the atmosphere, loving everything about this. But this holiday is the season of the witch. And this holiday is not just season of any witch, but it's also the season of the dragon witch.